You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Episode number 52 of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. Welcome in, everybody. Hi. I am Tyler Mon in New York City. Samuel L. Dykstra is in, did I just say I'm in New York City? You're in New York City.
I am in New York City.
I'm not in New York
unless
City.
There's something you haven't told me, which would be very disappointing.
I'm just not, I don't want to be around you. I'm just recording it from, I'm in a hotel in Midtown.
Oh, great. Sure. You enjoy me.
I don't want to be around Sam.
I don't even want to see you.
I'm going to introduce you to Samuel L. Dykstra every week just to give us cachet with the Sam Jackson fans.
Sure. Yeah. Get that sweet podcast SEO, which
get that,
I don't know if it exists in audio
snakes
form.
on a plane target market.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to be our goal. Hey, final week of spring training games. It's here. Real baseball is forthcoming in less than a week now. Major League Baseball players will be playing real meaningful games, and in just over a week from the day on which we are recording this episode, the 52nd of the Show Before the Show, minor league baseball players will be doing the same. We're recording this on Tuesday the 29th, so we're getting down to it, finally. And then I can just start leading into shows with actual news rather than just telling you how close we're getting to opening day.
What a glorious time that'll be. It'll just be like, things actually happened yesterday.
No, we can talk about real things.
Yeah, not the calendar turned as it always does.
Well, and we do have some real things to talk about, so let's get started. 3 strikes for the 52nd edition of the Minor League Baseball podcast, which, by the way, you can find on Twitter through the MILB account at MILB. We'll tweet out links to the podcast everywhere, but you can find our hub for the podcast at MILB.com/podcast. There, links to find the show on iTunes and RSS feeds. You can rate, review, and subscribe to the Show Before the Show there. We've been rocketing up the baseball charts, so give us a rating and a listen. All of our ratings and our reviews are very good. We just need more of them. So if you like us, go let us know, because we're insecure and we need your love.
That's just always true, though. That's not just true on this podcast.
It's not just a podcast.
Yeah.
If you see us walking around, you're more than welcome to do the same thing.
Leave us a review on the street.
Enjoy us.
Just shout to your friends. This is a 5-star podcast.
It's a great show you guys do.
Yeah.
Yell at Sam.
Word gets spread in 2015. Or 2016, whatever year it is now.
Strike one, Sam. Minor League Baseball transaction news. Fast and furious this week. Major League teams getting set for opening day, needing to trim rosters to their 25 that they will carry into opening day of the 2016 season. So with that, some big names who are still up in big league camp, no longer in big league camp. Among them, Trey Turner, Max Kepler, Gary Sanchez, AJ Reed. Some of the big ones that stood out this week. Those are really the guys. And I don't think any huge surprises, but who stood out to you among the guys who found out that they would be starting in AA and AAA and some of the higher levels of the minors?
Yeah, so you brought up a good point that it's not exactly a huge surprise that Trey Turner is going to be starting at AAA Syracuse, but it is a little bit of a disappointment, I would say. I did the prospect projection series this offseason, and it looked in every projection you read about him, if you just look at his stats last year, between AA and the Padres system, AA and the national system and AAA, and he got that taste of the majors last year. He looked like a guy who was major league ready, both with the bat and the wheels. He's a competent shortstop. The Nationals are going to be, locked, it seems like, in a NL East battle with the Mets, so they're going to need all the quality talent they can get. I was, as much as I could be, I was advocating for him to start the year in the majors. Really, the only other option the Nationals had after the departure of Ian Desmond this offseason was Danny Espinosa, who had a slightly above average year last year with the bat last year for the Nationals, but isn't exactly a guy who's going to break down the door. He certainly didn't beat out Turner this year in the spring, I would say. He had some struggles of his own. At least in Grapefruit League play, I think he was 4 for 30 with 11 strikeouts in 13 games. Meanwhile, Turner was 9 for 36, which is a 250 average, and had 7 steals in 22 games. So looked like he was comfortable. Dash of salt for spring training results. Everybody understands that. But Turner looked like the guy we expected he would be this spring, not looking necessarily like a guy who needed extra time. This is purely a service time play. He had 45 days of major league service time last year. That's how much he had accrued after being called up in August. And by holding him back a little bit, this is kind of like Chris Bryant last year, except Chris Bryant didn't have any major league time, so the Cubs were able to hold him back for a couple weeks and therefore got an extra year of control. With Turner, it's holding him back for those extra couple weeks in AAA plus 45 days to make up for the time he made in the majors last year. So they obviously still want to keep him for as long as they can get him. They acknowledge the talent he has. I think Dusty Baker called him Trey Burner this spring. So they know what they have.
Is that like Royce Harper?
A Royce Harper?
That's what Dusty was calling Bryce Harper for like the first 3 weeks.
Oh, no, yeah. No, I think this one was like legit.
Oh, it was like an actual nickname.
Yeah.
Calling him by that Travis Turner, he's really good.
No, this was Trey Burner, like a legitimate nickname because
it was like an actual thing he meant to do.
Yeah, I don't think Dusty Baker was misspeaking. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt anyway. But yeah, so I think they know what they had in him and they want to keep him for an extra year, and that's the economics of the game right now. And we've talked about that before. But yeah, for a team that's trying to eke out as many wins as they can for the entire season, hoping to beat out the Mets for that NL East spot, I was kind of disappointed to see that. But like I said, that's the way the game kind of operates now.
The service time question is such a conversation that we've had to have over the last few seasons, but that is something that, and I know this is just a brief thing that we can touch on, that can change because there will be upcoming negotiations about that in the next CBA. So that's a conversation that we've had a lot. Of course, Chris Bryant was the big question mark about that. Who was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago it was the same thing. And I can't remember who it was now.
I mean, last year we had that a little bit with Correa and Lindor for Super 2. I'm trying to think who that was from 2 years ago. It's not immediately coming to mind. I mean, Bryce Harper started in AAA Syracuse 2 that 1 year, his rookie year. I think it was 2012. That was my first year here, and it was just, how long are they really going to keep him down? And he was here before any of us had a chance to even potentially interview him with Syracuse. So this is something that the Nats kind of have a little bit of experience with.
So just keep that in mind. It's something that could be changing going forward, the same way the compensatory draft picks tied to free agents could be changing, something we've heard over the last couple of seasons that could come up in the next CBA, which is, Sam and I have discussed this many times. At some point, we're going to find the world's cheapest lawyer, but we'll hire him for a few hours to sit down and just read through the CBA and explain it like we're 5-year-olds, because that's things that are way above my intellect level. But so keep that in mind going forward. The Houston Astros, Sam, yesterday, it really looked like coming into camp, the first base job for the Astros was kind of a 2-horse race between A.J. Reed and John Singleton. Neither one of those guys is going to leave camp with that job. Tyler White comes out of nowhere and very fittingly really fits the bill of the story you wrote about him from the Grapefruit League. Tyler White, there's nothing that really stands out about Tyler White. He's not A.J. Reed and is just pure offensive prowess. He's not John Singleton in that he's hitting 500-foot homers, but he's a steady, good player, and he's going to be there on opening day. A.J. Reed still needs some more time seasoning in the minors. John Singleton, it seems like maybe we've seen his star finally go dark. What did you think about those moves yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited to see Tyler White make that move up to the majors, and the Astros give him the call and the nod in that competition. It was fun because the Astros said it was going to be an open competition, and sometimes that's kind of a wink. I know the Nationals had said that about the shortstop job. It was an open competition, but it always felt like Espinosa had the edge. This was a good, honest, open competition, and White he's been a hitter everywhere he's gone in the minors so far. I think he looked his best last year at AAA, Fresno. Some of that went into the offensive parks that are in the PCL, but he hit 362 there, had a 467 OBP, walked more than he struck out. I mean, this is just this guy. You would want that at any position that you can get. Because he's a first baseman, he doesn't necessarily have that power that of a Reed or a Singleton, like you mentioned. So you think his star kind of burns a little less brightly because of that, but he just hits everywhere he's gone, and he carried that to this spring too. That was the interesting thing. We do take those piles of salt with spring training results, but when a guy shows up and plays exactly how we expected, then especially a guy for like White who is trying to earn a job, then it becomes at least a little bit more interesting. He had a 348, 436, 543 slash line this spring, 2 homers, 10 RBIs, 19 games, struck out 9 times, walked 8. So again, he had that really good K to walk ratio that you like to see, equal for a hitter. A 980 OPS. He just continued to hit this spring. AJ Hinch liked him the more they saw him. They decided he can handle first base. At least defensively, he can be a solid defensive first baseman. He's not exactly the quickest guy in the world, but it's nice to see a guy earn a spot like that. And his story is very interesting as a guy who was taken in the 33rd round in 2013. He has built this himself. This is not a guy who was given any advantages. If he's one of you're taken at that level in that round, your first major slip up, you're out the door. I mean, it's a very cheap. They only spend $1,000 to sign him. That's a very, very cheap lottery ticket, and it's really cool to see the Astros kind of cashed in with White. Whether he carries that into Major League regular season, we'll have to see. Once the Major League pitchers get a book on him, know that he's going to be patient, take his walks. Maybe they attack him a little bit more, throw him a little bit more off-speed stuff than he necessarily saw in the PCL. But it's nice to see a guy earn a job like this. And with Reed, he played at high A and double A last year, so it's not a big thing to send him to triple A, let him get his time there. I'm sure he'll put up monster numbers. He's a likely candidate to come up after Super 2.
He had really good numbers in the spring, too.
Right, yeah, he was very solid, too. If without White, he probably wins that job. But there is a little bit of service time thing going there with him as well. Him being a top 100 prospect, White not necessarily being that guy. Reed, they want to get as much as much out of his contract, out of his free agent contract as they can. So they're more than willing to send him to the PCL, let him get that time. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun to see Tyler White on the Major League stage. That's for sure.
The Astros, that just continually shows you that system and the strength of that system and being able to develop talent. You kind of knew the type of player you were getting in AJ Reed. I don't think anybody expected this from Tyler White. Like you said, he's a lottery ticket signed for $1,000, a 33rd round pick, and yet that system develops its talent so exceedingly well. It's really cool to see those stories come out of the Astros system. The other part to this story, and he's not technically a prospect anymore, but John Singleton was the number 2 prospect in that organization coming out of 2013, and he has just not been able to figure it out at the major league level. And another guy who has a story that is really easy to root for. He's overcome alcohol abuse in his career. He's been pretty open about that, and just a guy who you really want to see succeed. And at the minor league level, he does that everywhere he goes. But at the major league level, at spring training and in the major league experience he's gotten over the last couple of seasons, just has not been able to get it figured out at the plate.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is that he does have kind of a big loopy swing, which brings that power, but is very well manipulated by major league pitching. I mean, once they figure that out, they know he's going to be swinging for the fences. Veteran guys will figure that out and know how to kind of attack him. And he hasn't quite figured that out yet in terms of how to counteract that. Part of that, you don't want to lose the power, so you don't want to bring in the loopy swing as much. But, he will get his time at Fresno. I think him and Reed will split DH / first base duties there. They'll both get plenty of at-bats. And, Singleton was at one point the top first base prospect in the game. He's not going to get many more chances right now, but this is still another one. So he has to go and prove himself there.
Strike 2 from some exciting news there. Some downer news for a couple of arms and pretty highly regarded ones in the Miami Marlins organization and the St. Louis Cardinals organization. Let's start in St. Louis, where Luke Weaver, the Cardinals' 3rd-ranked prospect, will be out at least a month due to a fractured left wrist that he suffered in a workout back on just a few days ago, actually. I think last week the injury was actually suffered, and then the Cardinals came out with that news this week. He was expected to go to Double-A Springfield instead, and it is his his non-pitching hand. He'll still be in a cast for 3 to 4 weeks, and he'll miss opening day. Last year, missed opening day as well. 6 weeks he spent out because of tightness in his right arm. And again, Luke Weaver, a really highly regarded prospect. He was that system's first-round pick back in 2014. Definitely not the way you want to see a season start for a kid like Weaver. It looked like he was primed to take a pretty big step in his development this year.
Yeah, I really liked Weaver. I think I wrote him up last year for a tool shed. Made a jump. Now he is number 3 in a somewhat solid, Cardinals system. We certainly know the way they develop arms, so for him to be ranked number 3 in that system behind Alex Reyes and Jack Flaherty is pretty good. Weaver, I was really excited to see what would happen with him outside the FSL, because the FSL is a very pitcher-friendly environment down there, and he had a 1.62 ERA and 19 starts there. So I wanted to see, what would happen when he moved to the Texas League, which can be a little bit more offensive-friendly. But he definitely has really, really good control. Only walked 19 in 105 and a third innings last year. So that's the kind of stuff that plays everywhere. Between him and Reyes, it's kind of unfortunate that 2 of the guys I was most excited to see in that system are starting on the shelf. But that, once we do get into the season, once we get into guys playing every day, I mean, this is kind of life now. There's injuries are going to happen, and we're going to have to, wait to have some of our biggest questions of the 2016 season answered. And in the case of Weaver, it's going to be a couple weeks, it looks like.
The other story is Tyler Kolek, and this is a concerning one for the Marlins. He was the top prospect taken in that year's draft out of high school, was picked with the, at the very top end of that draft class in 2014. He was a second overall selection, and the hype and the discussion of Tyler Kolek coming out of high school in Texas. Oh, he's got a fastball, gets to 103. He's one of those big power arms from Texas that, you don't really find. He's a once in a generation talent. It has not gone according to plan for Tyler Kolek and the Miami Marlins so far. And Kolek will be examined by team doctors coming up on Monday after suffering what appears to be an elbow injury. So it looks like he will miss opening day and maybe some extended time, but just the latest setback for a kid who really, really had some high hopes coming into pro ball and has not been able to capitalize on that so far. That being said, he's still extremely young. 20 years old, but you wonder in this circumstance, a guy who throws that hard, that much torque, he hurt his arm initially last Friday. He suffered some discomfort since then. Not sure if he's going to need surgery. And whenever you hear about an elbow, you always fear the worst.
Yeah, especially with somebody that young. And especially with somebody throwing that hard, you wonder, should he have been throwing that hard in high school? That's how you get noticed. There's so much going on right now in the game of trying to debate how you develop arms in that kind of way, and especially when there's millions of dollars being thrown around for guys who do throw hard. How much do you want to reel them in and let their potential not necessarily come all the way through when there's the potential they could be taken as high as Kolek. But this must be frightening for Marlins fans who, this is still their top prospect in the system. You don't want to see him on the shelf, with any kind of elbow problem, and especially now when Tommy John will put you out for 12 months. Not necessarily saying that's what's going to happen with him. I don't know if it's a UCL issue. All we know is that it's an elbow problem. But once elbow gets thrown out at any point, it gets really, really scary. If he were to miss a year, then he comes back next year. He's 21, so it kind of just delays it for a year. But he was a guy who had his own questions to answer this summer, specifically in the control department. Had far too many walks last year at Class A Greensboro, and was hoping to develop some other pitches. So the fact that he's missing out on any time is going to hurt his development just a little bit, and it's going to leave our questions unanswered. So hopefully it has a happy ending. Maybe some tests resolve that he'll be back in short order. But like I said, once elbow gets thrown around, then it's a real worry.
Yeah, it's a very disappointing start to this year for Tyler Kolek, who such high hopes for him coming into that draft and in the start to his professional career. And last year just seemed like a kid who at times was lost and didn't really know how to find his way. The velocity is there, but the ability to beat guys really is not. Last year in 108 2/3 innings, over 25 starts, for Class A Greensboro, 81 strikeouts, 61 walks. Certainly not the dominant strikeout numbers you expect from somebody with that arm, and definitely not the command issue, or not the command ability that you hope for somebody who has that type of fastball, which grades as a 70 on MLB.com's 20 to 80 scouting scale. So really, really tough break for Tyler Kolek, and we certainly hope that it's something that won't require surgery, and we'll see how that progresses as he visits with team doctors coming up next week. Strike three, Sam, fire away.
Yeah, so this one turns over to you, Tyler. I really found this story very interesting. You wrote about Kansas City Royals prospect, not necessarily known from an area that is baseball heavy. Over there in the boot in Europe. What can you tell us about Martin Gasparini?
Yeah, Martin Gasparini was really cool to get a chance to talk to. Comes over from Italy, does Martin Gasparini. And this is what I kind of love about how you can tell people don't really know how to handle his story quite yet. Martin Gasparini, if you look on various different websites, his hometown is listed as being 3 different places. He's listed on MILB.com as from Ruda, Italy. On Baseball Reference, I believe he's listed as being from a suburb of Trieste, Italy, which is just a short drive away from Ruda, but is still not really in the same vicinity. And then on MLB.com, or actually in an MLB.com story written about him last month, it was listed as a 3rd different town. So Martin Gasparini, we know vaguely where he's from in Italy, but that's about it. No, and I think that just kind of goes to show that guys don't generally come with that background, and that happens sometimes with Latin American players who come from, the lesser known areas. If you find somebody from Colombia or from Panama, it's not as heavily scouted, it's not as heavily known as some of the other baseball markets in the world. But Martin Gasparini just kind of forced his way into the pro baseball conversation. This is a kid who grew up basically just wanted to play baseball because it was something different than what everybody else he knew did, playing soccer and volleyball, which are the 2 biggest things in Italy. Decided he wanted to try playing baseball after getting some VHS highlight tapes of Yankees World Series wins from his dad, who travels a lot for work and brings back books and videos and stuff like that from his travels. Started watching baseball, got interested in it, went out in his backyard with a stick and a tennis ball and started teaching himself how to play baseball. A few years later, when he was 11 years old, he started playing in a youth league. A school friend of his played in a league that was close to his hometown, so he started doing that. Then he's all of a sudden on a little league team that's going to play in the European semifinals in Poland, being talked to by scouts there at 11, 12 years old. And really, you can tell the athleticism with him is so natural in playing the game of baseball. Last season spent his entire year with rookie level Idaho Falls in the Pioneer League, slashed .259, .341, .411, but was vastly better in the second half than he was in the first half. Largest bonus ever given to a European-born prospect. Just a really, really cool kid. And like I said in the story, if you didn't pick up on his accent, you wouldn't know he was Italian. He just comes across as every other minor leaguer, just a kid who's excited to maybe get to Lexington this year and play in full season ball for the first time. Really cool kid.
Yeah, so where did that knowledge of English kind of come from? Because this isn't, there's not Italian translators on every team. Right. So yeah, go ahead.
Martin's story is really very worldly. His father is Italian. His mother is of Jamaican descent, but she was born in the United Kingdom. So his mother taught him English. His father knows English, but he kind of grew up speaking Italian and English, and he's actually doing a lot of work to learn Spanish now as well, so he can communicate with his Latin American teammates, which is relatively easy, I would imagine, having a background in Italian to learn Spanish since they're so similar. But just a very worldly kid. He has a sister who actually is in college, I believe, over here in the States. But he said, with me and my sister growing up, my parents always told us, whatever you want to do in life, go do it. If it means you have to travel, it means you have to be away from home, go chase whatever dream you have, and we'll support you for as long as we can while you're doing it. And I don't think a whole lot of kids in a place like Italy or in a place like the Netherlands or in a place like Germany would necessarily have their parents say, you want to go do what, where? And do you want us to support that? And for Martin Gasparini, that's what his family's background was. And so they encouraged him to go into baseball. He actually left home when he was, I believe, 15 to go play at the Academy, the Italian Baseball and Softball Academy, which MLB has some ties to. He went and lived there, trained, worked out, got to play on some youth national teams, and that's when he really started to come into the prospect world. And the Royals signed him when he was 16 years old for, like I said, the largest prospect bonus ever given to a European-born player. So really cool. And it's not just the novelty of, oh, this kid's Italian and he plays baseball. He's a really, really good prospect as well. He's the number 8 ranked prospect in the Royals system. And they have, I was talking with Ronnie Richardson, who's the director of minor league operations for the Royals. They have really, really high hopes for him. It's kind of the same situation that we've discussed with prospects who come from other countries that aren't necessarily as baseball heavy, like Australia we've talked about. Those guys don't get as many innings. They don't get as many at-bats growing up as the kids do who come out of Venezuela and the Dominican Republic and the United States and Mexico and even the Asian countries. The guys who come over to the minor leagues from Taiwan or Japan or Korea are rare, but they're so often vastly more experienced than European-born prospects or Australian-born prospects or the guys we've seen come out of, South Africa and places like that. So that's really the name of the game right now for somebody like Martin Gasparini is you have to continue to get used to the strain, the stress, and it's every minor leaguer's favorite word, the grind of an everyday schedule in minor league baseball. But to really show the aptitude to adapt the way he did at the end of last season in the second half with rookie level Idaho Falls, I think he's a kid who's got a very, very bright future ahead of him. Final 22 games last year in the Pioneer League, slashed 357, 448, 529, and really cut his strikeouts down a lot. So it's definitely a prospect that if I'm a Royals fan, I want to keep an eye on for the next couple of seasons because he's going to be fun to watch progress.
Yeah, especially if you're an Italian Royals fan. I mean,
exactly.
It must be pretty cool to have a guy who's like one of your own.
And you know what's really cool, and I want to see if I can maybe find this again so I can read it as I give this story out. But I was just Googling things about Martin and his family and his father and whatever, and there was a Reddit thread from 2015, and again, you don't know how accurate anything like this is on Reddit, but it's on a Reddit Royals subreddit, and I can't imagine that anybody's just going to make this story up. So this comes from a Reddit user that I'm going to assume is in the military in Italy, stationed in Italy right now, and the subject line to it was, "So I met Martin Gasparini's dad yesterday while shopping at the commissary here in Italy." And then the explanation is, for those who don't know, it said that Gasparini might be Europe's best prospect ever. I saw a man walking into the store with a Royals jacket on, and I did my usual, "Hey, nice jacket." He seemed a bit surprised and asked me if I was from the area. I told him that I was and asked where he was from. He told me that he's only been to KC once, but that his son is playing in rookie ball for the Royals. I was interested, so I asked for his son's name. When he said Martin Gasparini, I couldn't believe it. Small world. So obviously the Gasparini family is way behind him and sporting the Royals threads in Italy. But I thought that was just the coolest, most random thing.
Yeah, that's something that now everybody can kind of look out for. If you ever see a Kansas City hat in anywhere in Italy or even Europe,
probably know.
Yeah, it's probably the Gasparini.
It's probably a member of the Gasparini clan at some point. So keep an eye on Martin Gasparini. I would imagine he's probably headed to Lexington to start this year. And if he does, he's still going to be very, very young. Last season, he was just 18 playing in the Pioneer League, which Pioneer League is an advanced level of competition for an 18-year-old. He's not going to turn 19 until May 24th. So if he heads to Lexington out of the gate to get his first taste of full season ball, he'll be 18 years old. So another fun prospect to write about.
Yeah, there you go.
So with that, episode number 52 of the Show Before the Show podcast, wrapping up 3 strikes for this edition. Coming up on the 52nd edition of the Show Before the Show, the number 2 prospect in the Philadelphia Phillies organization is right-handed pitcher Jake Thompson, who knows what it's like to have to get used to a new organization. He's done it a lot over the last couple of years, but now set to go on what is sure to be a very talented Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs roster or cheesesteaks. Jake Thompson joins the show coming up from spring training next. Somebody pointed out to us recently that we had yet to have a Philadelphia Phillies prospect on the Show Before the Show podcast as we near our second opening day of this little venture. So Jake Thompson gets to we bestow those honors on you, Jake. You have the pressure of the entire organization on you. How does that make you feel?
I appreciate it. I'm honored.
Well, welcome in, man. It's good to talk to you. The last couple of years for you have been all over the place. You were started with the Tigers, you go to the Rangers, you kind of go home as a Texas guy. Now you're in the Philly system, and all of a sudden you're one step away from the big leagues most likely this season, and you're in a very, very good spot for your career and for your organization. What has this felt like this year coming into, your third club, very highly regarded prospect, but you've had to adjust to a whole lot of different stuff, and now you're going to be surrounded by a lot of talented guys and really have an opportunity to start getting that franchise back on the right track?
Yeah, I mean, as far as moving around a little bit, I've gotten to see what the industry is all about. Made a few different stops, and I think I found a home here with Philadelphia. But yeah, it's an exciting time to be a part of the Phillies. I mean, it's evident they're trying to rebuild. They're trying to create a young, winning culture, and just as far as having the opportunity to hopefully make an impact on that, hopefully sooner rather than later, is a whole lot better circumstance than you get with some of those other clubs that are real veteran heavy and really just have a lot of older players, so the younger guys kind of get pushed to the side a little bit.
Yeah, and Jake, what has it kind of been like in spring training this year? I know you were with the Major League Club for a little bit as a non-roster invite. I got to head down there, and I saw you were in the same area as Appel, and there's a couple of you guys who were there in your first spring training with the Phillies. A lot of young guys, like you said. What was it like just getting to meet so many new faces like that, especially guys who are going to be with you probably coming up in this kind of rebuild era with the Phillies?
Oh, I mean, it's awesome. Just the chemistry that we've already built, and then some of the chemistry we had at the end of last year at the AA level. It's very evident. It's carrying over. You can see kind of the group of guys that are coming up together and how much we love playing together and just being around each other, which is a big deal because we're around each other a whole lot more than I guess the average fan would think. So it was a really cool experience as far as being with a bunch of younger guys, a bunch of my teammates, and then just being around some of those veterans, guys like Charlie Morton, guys like Hellickson on the pitching side. I mean, those guys have been there and done it. Just being around them and soaking up all the knowledge that they have is a great experience for us.
And you mentioned that team last year with Redding. You came over with the trade, and I mentioned Williams before, and J.P. Crawford's already there, and Andrew Knapp was really coming along there in the second half. What was that team like? How did you guys kind of build with each other? I know a lot of it was just spending time with each other. And how much are you looking forward to building what should be a very, very talented team in Lehigh Valley this year?
I mean, that team, whenever I got there last year, that was a magical team. That whatever little run or stretch that we had going right when I got there was like nothing I've ever seen before. I've never seen everybody in the clubhouse be that excited to get to the park every day. And as far as carrying it over into this season, just we gotta just play with that same chemistry. Everybody gets along with everybody. Just getting out and pretty much we just got to go out and perform, to be honest.
Jake, let's talk a little bit about what it means to be able to come up with guys together, because you now have that opportunity with the guys who are going to be around you, and getting along and having good chemistry in the clubhouse is great on one hand. On the other hand, it seems like it's even more beneficial that you guys can all kind of bounce things off each other. I mean, if you see something with what Mark Appel is doing, you can ask him about that, vice versa. How much does that help, knowing that you have guys that you can lean on who are in a similar circumstance to you, having seen what it's going to take to get to the big leagues, and that you guys can all kind of walk that road in tandem?
Oh, I mean, it's fantastic. What I think is really cool is, because we're all throwing on different days. The days that we aren't throwing bullpens, we're watching the other guy's bullpen. Or one day I'm watching Zach's, one day I'm watching Mark's. Just because we're all in a similar spot, and we're not necessarily the same pitcher, but as far as the learning and kind of the development side of it, we can get out there and soak up things that that Zach's working on or that Mark's working on, or whenever I'm throwing, they can see things that I'm doing that they can improve on. So as far as that, we're all talented. It's just making sure we continue to develop and continue to learn.
And Jake, kind of this spring, this offseason, your first offseason with the Phillies, what kind of has been your focus going into this year? You're likely to be at Lehigh Valley, to start out the year. That's only one step away from the majors. I think a lot of Phillies fans would love to see you out there this year. What are you kind of working on developmentally, at least on the personal side? Any pitches, anything like that, to kind of make that next step to the majors?
For me, it's just ironing out my mechanics just a little bit more. I want to be able to, instead of repeating my mechanics 80 times out of 100, I want to be able to repeat it 90 times out of 100. So I'm still working on that a little bit, and just fastball command. I mean, that's the biggest thing up there in the big leagues is, 3-1, you got to throw a fastball, not only throwing a strike with it, but throwing it exactly where you want it. So me and the pitching coordinators have been working on that pretty much all spring.
And I kind of want to just go back to last year quick, just for another second, just because your numbers between Frisco and Reading were just so different, at least on the ERA side and even just the batted ball side. You went from a 4.72 ERA in Frisco to a 1.80 in Reading. What was behind that change? Was it just the change in atmosphere, or was it something different you were doing, just a different atmosphere? How did you kind of grow as a pitcher last year and carry that into this offseason?
Whenever I was with Texas, I was really trying to accomplish the things that Texas wanted me to do as a pitcher, and I don't know that it completely meshed with me with my strengths as a pitcher. So I think there was a little bit of learning to do there, and I took my lumps. I had good outings, but I also had some bad ones. And whenever I got traded over to Philly, I kind of just went back to what I had done my entire career when I was with the Tigers. Pitching off my two seam, not being afraid to show my slider early in counts, using my changeup, and I think me getting back to the way I like to pitch, the way I know how to pitch, I think it was really beneficial for me.
Jake, when you get to this stage of a minor league career, it seems like the finishing stages are so complex and so intricate compared to, when you get into pro ball, it's all about kind of figuring out the routine and what you have that's going to be successful and all that. But when you get to the upper levels, and you touched on it a little bit a minute ago, it's all about figuring out where you want to mix in certain pitches and certain counts, and how you approach hitters, how you can pitch backwards, all that kind of stuff. For somebody who has so many assets that are already above major league average, did you kind of realize coming into pro ball what all it would take on the mental side once you got to these levels of the minors to really polish yourself off and make yourself into that major league ready guy? Because it seems like the average fan probably doesn't know just how much really goes into that once you get to AA and AAA in those stages.
Right. I mean, this is definitely the hardest part. It's what separates the guys that have great arms but are lacking in certain areas from the guys that really stand out, that are the total package, the guys that really have a high IQ on the mound and know what they're doing at all times. For me, it's just being able to command everything, and I believe that I have the ability to kind of think on my feet pretty well out there on the mound. But being able to command everything and just execute every pitch. I mean, it's one thing to know what the right pitch is to throw, but you have to be able to execute it. And if you can't execute it, these older hitters and some of the guys that have been in the big leagues and are back down in AAA, they're not dumb. I mean, you have to execute. They're not big chase hitters, so you really, really need to execute your pitches.
Mm-hmm. And to kind of wrap this up a little bit, we talked so much about that young core of Phillies prospects that's going through right now, that's coming up with you. How much do you guys kind of talk as a group of the opportunity that you guys have in front of you, given what Philly is doing right now and the way they are kind of paving the road for that young core to kind of get to the majors this year and potentially succeed this year. How much do you guys talk about playing in the majors together as a group?
I think it's one of those things where we don't necessarily talk about it. We know that it's definitely a possibility, but right now we're just going out and we're just loving playing with each other. It's not very often you get to see this many guys at the same age, at the same point in their career, go out and play together every day, and we're really soaking that in and enjoying it.
All right, Jake, final thing for you, and this is a big, big question. You are going to be a member of obviously a very talented team. You're going to be playing in a great ballpark, whatever. But the question everybody wants to know the answer to, on June 10th, you guys will cease to be the Iron Pigs, and you'll be the Lehigh Valley Cheesesteaks for a night. Now, you're a Texas guy, but you're in the Philly system now, and so the big debate raging around this, are you Team Wit or Team Wit Out as it pertains to onions on your cheesesteak hat/uniform?
Ooh, I'm not sure what the technical Philly way is, but I'm a big onion guy. So
Absolutely.
That's the correct answer.
Fantastic answer.
Good.
Okay. This is the first actual vote we've gotten on Team Wit and Team Wit Out, and you're a Team Wit guy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the onions kind of sets it apart.
Good. That is all we needed to know.
I think you just won yourself a lot more fans in Philly with that.
If you were running for president, I'm pretty sure you just won the entire Philly area vote based on the fact that you're Team Wit. Nice work, Jake.
Thank you.
Jake Thompson is the number 2 prospect in the Philadelphia Phillies system via MLB Pipeline. You can follow Jake Thompson on Twitter. He's at JTomp15. Jake, we cannot thank you enough for the time, and best of luck getting to Lehigh Valley and getting the season started the right way.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Get down to the final hours before ballparks throw open their gates and welcome in all hundreds of thousands and millions of you crazy people listening to this podcast. And the man who will tell you the best places to hit all season long is Benjamin Hill, who joins the show for this week's final edition before the regular season is upon us. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Tyler. Good to be here. Hi,
Hey.
Sam. I'm sitting right next to you.
I know, yeah. I've been around you all day, but it's good to have you here, man.
Yeah, it's good to be here. And Tyler, I like how you just implied that millions of people are listening to this podcast, which
Well,
I always assume, but I haven't checked the stats.
When I did those random broadcasts of baseball in Asia for the Premier 12 tournament in the fall, and I kept telling people, like, there's a potential audience of billions that could be watching these because they were like broadcasts on YouTube. In reality, it was probably like my dad and like 3 other people that I know, but potentially millions of people could be tuned into this podcast.
You're right. So to the millions out there, to the assembled millions, hello and welcome, and thank you for being here with us.
So, Ben, we are sort of in the lull before opening day now, promotions-wise. We had crazy stuff last week come out. The Lehigh Valley Cheesesteaks were the big story of the week. But this week, it seems like things have died down, and I think we're kind of now in that stretch where teams have put everything out there, and now it's just, okay, now we actually have to get it all ready. Because it's easy to, somebody who's worked in a front office, it's very easy to come up with ideas and put them out on paper and blast out a press release and stuff. And then you realize, like, oh, man, we actually have to get to work on making all this stuff happen. So are we kind of in that stretch now?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like you say, when the average team's dealing with 70 home games, and as you know, in minor league baseball, that's 70 evenings or afternoons of entertainment, and so many things to be taken care of to get ready for the season, for opening day first and foremost, but for the entire season. I think that's where everyone's focus is. It's where my focus has been. Just yesterday I finished going through all the team promo schedules to make sure I had the good ones entered in my, in my spreadsheets. And I put together my own road trip itineraries, but don't have those completely cut and dried, to where I'm ready to announce that. I finished up some of my last season road trip stuff, just random odds and ends. And I think that's where I am too. Usually I come on the show and there's always like, oh, this happened or this happened. And now it's just kind of like, yeah, everyone just getting their ducks in a row, so to speak, the calm before the storm, whatever cliche you want to use. And that's where we are. And,
well, now that we are kind of wrapping up the offseason, you have a story coming out this week too, just doing exactly that, wrapping up the offseason. Just kind of take people who, the millions out there who are listening, maybe some of those who haven't listened so far. What do you think were the highlights of this 2015-2016 offseason?
It depends on what you consider a highlight. I wasn't necessarily. I am focusing on highlights because you want to accentuate the positive, but it's just also just the big thing that's happened. I feel like I've written enough and we've talked enough about the Hartford Yard Goats and the Columbia Fireflies, but that's the biggest story because those are 2 new teams and 2 new stadiums. So I had to touch on that a little bit. I'd say the biggest story in the world of ballpark improvements had to be Frisco Rough Riders and the Lazy River, which we've talked about. And I'd say in the promotions that were announced this offseason, it was the Fresno Tacos saying they would, or the Fresno Grizzlies saying they would be the Fresno Tacos for each and every Tuesday home game. And then, from a similar realm, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs changing their name to the Cheesesteaks for one night. I'd say those are the biggest news on that front. And it's kind of ironic because in previous years, sometimes the food itself was the biggest stories. I think teams were maybe 4 or 5 years ago were much bigger on the attention getting, extreme or grotesque or whatever word you want to use, concession items. I've seen a lot less of that, but yet food has become more of a focus, more in teams doing their identities with it, like the tacos and the tacos and the cheesesteaks. So just trying to recap all that stuff and put it in a nice little package. That story will be out on Friday on MILB.com, and I included many hyperlinks within the text. So if you're reading about something, you can read about more and more and more. And that's what I like about what I do and what the minor leagues are, is it's a rabbit hole. If it's a particular hole you want to dive into, there's always more to learn.
Just want to point out the Fresno Grizzlies going to Taco Tuesdays has inspired me to do Taco Tuesdays in my own life, in which I just eat tacos on Tuesday with regularity, which is a smart move, and I recommend everybody does it, especially if you're in a good taco market.
Wait, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taco?
Oh, yeah. We get amazing Mexican food here. Yeah. When you guys come out here at some point, which I've been advocating for years, and by advocating, I mean just saying like out loud to myself, they should have the winter meetings here so I can hang out with all of you guys on my soil rather than when I go out there. Then I can show you all the good places here. But yeah, we'll go to El Taco de Mexico, which is like 10 minutes from here, and it's the most amazing tacos I've ever had.
All right, I'd love to, Tyler. But
Okay.
I think that's usually something you say to yourself while eating tacos alone, and not something that that we're necessarily aware of.
You don't know how often I sit saying things out loud to myself eating tacos alone.
Well,
Wow.
that sounds like a meme or a GIF or something waiting to happen.
That's a hashtag.
Don't talk to me or my son, whatever the new weird, strange meme that I don't understand on social media is this week. Ben, you were telling us a little bit ago as we got into this segment, something you had just kind of stumbled across over the last few days. This is a standard minor league season in that there are new ballparks popping up. You mentioned Columbia. The Fireflies are going to be in a new ballpark, new South Atlantic League team. The Hartford Yard Goats will be in a new ballpark. Not as of opening day in April, but they'll be in a new ballpark when their ballpark is finished up in Hartford, formerly the New Britain Rockcats. But 2017 is stacking up as a very unique year. Explain to us why.
Yeah, when I was putting together the aforementioned off-season recap article, I realized that when I've done that sort of article in previous years, I mentioned the groundbreakings that had taken place for a ballpark that would most likely open the next season. So last year I was covering, Columbia and Hartford, saying, groundbreaking has taken place, construction's underway, and expect that the following season. And I realized in writing this year's article, wait a second, there haven't been any groundbreakings. There are not any stadiums in minor league baseball slated to open in 2017. I suppose that could change, but that's in a very accelerated time frame, and it seems kind of unlikely. And so I started thinking to myself, when was the last time that no new minor league ballparks opened in anywhere in the minor league landscape? When was the last season that happened? And I was thinking, you probably don't have to go back too far. And at first I was like, yeah, 2011, that's it, 2011. And, I put it out there on Twitter, and someone was like, what about Omaha? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And then 2010, I was like, that's Tulsa. Among others, 2009, Reno, and there were some others, 2008, I think it was Northwest Arkansas, 2007, Lehigh Valley, et cetera, and we just kept going backwards and getting help from people on Twitter. And then I found a list online through the website Baseball Pilgrimages, which had all active stadiums and their opening dates. And I just kept going back, and then finally I was like, 1986. I think that was the last time we've had a season with no new ballparks. And then via the magic of Twitter, I was informed that the Shreveport's Texas League team had the fairgrounds open that year. There was a new Texas League stadium in 1986, and that's not even a Texas League market anymore, nor was Shreveport ever in Texas, but that's another story. So now I was like, well, what about 85? Like, no, that's Richmond's the Diamond. 84, that's Potomac Nationals, the Fitzner Stadium. 83, Cashman Field in Las Vegas. 82, Pullman Field in Beloit. And now maybe 1981. Do we have to go back that far? And then there might have been a stadium open in 1981 that's just not in use anymore, but we're not finding it right now.
Because we don't know, we're pretty well versed on the history of the minor leagues, but yes, there is a very large chance that there was a city that had a ballpark that opened in 1981 that hasn't been in the minors for a while. Let's say Calgary had a ballpark that opened in 1981. We wouldn't remember that necessarily. So we're going to outsource this. If anybody remembers ballparks, let's put it out there from 1975 to 1981. If you remember a ballpark that opened in that year and hosted an affiliated minor league club, tweet it at Ben. He's at Ben's Biz on Twitter. You can copy me and Sam in on that as well. I'm at Tyler Mon. Sam is at Sam Dykstra, MILB. And let's see how far back we can get this, because this is a very rare thing. I mean, especially in the 90s and into the 2000s, we experienced the ballpark boom in the minors. But to think that every single year, even going back to the early 80s, to the Jimmy Carter administration, basically, we were welcoming in a new ballpark is so crazy that 2017 could be the first time in over 35 years we haven't seen that.
It is. It amazed me. I mean, we're all aware that there has been a ballpark boom, as you mentioned, and that the 90s into the early 2000s in particular was a particularly fertile time for that. But it blew me away that we're going back to at least 1981 now. I believe that's in both of your entire lifetimes.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
yes,
not. Unfortunately, not mine. I'm a little older, but we're getting very close to my lifetime as well, and very interesting. So that's a very nerdy question, but we know there's nerds who listen to the show.
Absolutely,
it's not a put down.
It's our target market.
It is our target market.
We're show by nerds for nerds. So
right, and there's millions of them out there. So.
But just so we get this straight, though, there's still the possibility that there's an FSL club that could go into this new Nationals-Astros combined spring training facility next year, right? This isn't set in stone that no team is going to be.
It's not set in stone. I mean, that's pure speculation that 2017 could see an FSL team in West Palm Beach. We've mentioned that before, but that's pure speculation. And even that would get an asterisk because it's a stadium that's not built first and foremost for a minor league team, but it would potentially host one. That's the only even remote possibility I see right now for a minor league team playing in a new ballpark in 2017. Unless there's some market out there that gets on the most accelerated timeline I think we've ever seen and somehow avoids the Hartford this season pitfalls of opening late, which happened to Biloxi in 2015 and El Paso in 2014. We go too deep here, but it's a crazy thing. There's been a lot of minor league ballparks in the last 3.5 decades.
So if you find one 81 or earlier that you remember opening, we'll continue piecing this puzzle together, because these are some of the best baseball things, the stuff that comes up just organically, like the guy who was uncovering the forgotten no-hitters, the stuff that you sort of stumble upon, then all of a sudden you think like, oh man, I got to find an answer to this. Those are some of the best things. So again, tweet them at Ben's Biz if you remember and these are new ballparks, if you remember a new ballpark that opened 1981 or earlier with an affiliated minor league club, tweet it at Ben and me and at Sam, and we'll continue diving into this nerdy little project that sounds like a ton of fun, actually. Ben, a final note that I wanted you to embrace and digest and discuss, because I came across a story a little bit ago and it is hilarious to me, especially because of this lead line, which comes from writer Julie Bergman of theday.com. Quote, "Goats and submarines may seem like an improbable pairing, but in Connecticut, the two are in the making of a new partnership." Here's the story. The Hartford Yard Goats, AA affiliate of the Colorado Rockies, and the USS Hartford, which is a Los Angeles-class attack submarine, have partnered up to a very interesting little friendship. This is really the money quote from this story. Quote, "Once top enlisted submariners on the boat achieve certain levels of competence, they get to wear a specially designed Yard Goats cap around the boat, according to U.S. Senator Chris Murphy, who recently spent an overnight aboard the submarine." Have you ever heard of anything like this?
Not quite like that. I mean, Connecticut Norwich, Connecticut used to host a AA team in the Eastern League, called the Defenders, and there was a lot of submarine imagery, and even now the Connecticut Tigers play in that ballpark, but they still are sponsored by local submarine manufacturers, and that's still a big area for that kind of work and that kind of industry. And actually, when I visited Norwich, I threw T-shirts out of a model submarine that appears on the field before games. So I have come across submarines in baseball. I've never come across such a partnership as the Yard Goats have with this one, but it's a pretty cool thing. And I see that Mike Abramson, the Yard Goats assistant GM, is involved with that, and he's the guy who does the team's Twitter as well. So I'm sure he'll do a lot of subtweeting.
I was going to say, they must love the opportunity to just tweet pictures of these guys' hats all over the world, given what their social media presence is right now with Hartford.
Yeah, they'll have a lot of fun with it for sure, and just hopefully the team doesn't go underwater.
I actually haven't seen any of the hats yet, and I tweeted at the Yard Goats and said, I'm going to need a picture of one of these hats. They didn't respond to that tweet. They favorited it, but then later they tweeted out their photoshopped blank white cap with Make America Graze Again on the front of it, which I would also purchase because I think that'd be terrific.
Yeah, for sure, but I would imagine the submarine cap would be navy blue.
He's Benjamin Hill. You can find him on Twitter. He's at Ben's Biz there, and the blog is bensbiz.mlblogs.com. Team Songs episode coming up, leading you into opening day, and also Ben will have his itineraries for 2016 road trips coming up soon, too, which has got to be both the most exciting time of the year and also kind of the craziest getting those itineraries nailed down, but almost done.
They're almost done. They're basically done. I just got to officialize them, if officialize is a word. And the thing about this season is that now I see a clear path to visiting every stadium, and 2017's itineraries, to look ahead, will be 100% based on finishing it up. And I think by the end of 2017, I will have visited every minor league stadium, at which point I don't know.
We'll retire you to the rafters.
Yeah, retire my number.
We'll just dangle Ben from the rafters at the offices.
Yeah, please do that. And it gives me an occasion to feel good about myself, I suppose. And hey, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be a good year to do it since no new ballpark will be opening. Then you can calm down for a year, and then 2018 there will probably be like 10 new parks you'll have to visit.
Yeah, let's not look too far ahead, because you know what else happens in 2018?
I don't know, the Mayans again? Do they have anything?
I turned 40.
What?
Oh, no.
You do not.
Yes, I do.
Wow.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Wow. Ben, just for the record, to anybody who hasn't met Ben or seen Ben on social media, he looks 5 years younger than I do, because I already look like I'm in my 50s and I'm 30, but I've looked like I was this old since I was 19, so I don't believe you, Ben.
I was born in 1978. Look it up.
When we go into 2018, I will not believe you with that.
I won't believe it myself, but the birth certificate says otherwise. November 6th, 1978.
Well, now we know. So start prepping your 40th birthday presents for Ben, and we'll talk about that at some point down the road.
We will. I'd look forward to it greatly.
Ben, we'll do it again next week.
All right, cool.
Episode number 52 of the Show Before the Show podcast coming to a close. Final one before a week that involves real baseball for the regular season and the chase for 2016 minor league glory all over the place. You can find us on the site, milb.com/podcast, and you can also find all of us on Twitter. Again, Jake Thompson of the Philadelphia Phillies. Big thanks to Jake. He's on Twitter. He's at jtomp, THOMP 15. Benjamin Hill is at Ben's Biz. Sam Dykstra is at Sam Dykstra, MILB, and I am at Tyler Mon. You can get in touch with the podcast. You can send us your questions, thoughts, comments, concerns. You can send us good offers on outdoor patio coverings, which we get with regularity. That's podcast at milb.com. That's it. Next week, Sam, we get to tease MILB TV broadcasts.
I know, right?
It was always our thing. It's always our thing in season. We get to start doing it again.
Yeah. So
it's exciting.
So that's what this will be in this space now, because I know that's exactly what you think of every time we get to the wrapping part.
Every time we get to this, I'm like, what games do we have coming up? Nothing for 6 months.
No. So next week we'll be able to tease that.
Fine.
Right now we're teasing the teasing.
It's a tease of the tease.
It's a tease. It's like those trailers for trailers that exist now.
We're going to drop this during the middle of the Super Bowl or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Teaser.
No, but next week will be fun. We're going to have it's going to be a prospect primer podcast.
Yes, we will get you set to go for your organization and all 29 others that you care about heading into the 2016 season. We'll take a tour around the world of minor league baseball with our illustrious staff of MILB.com writers. Also, in case anybody out there is listening and wants to sign us up as a podcast, if you work for MLB The Show 16, I am probably buying your product later today. So just a thought, if you are somebody who's behind that. I don't think Lucas Giolito's dad is behind the show, but, if you're one of the show guys, Brett Phillips is out there getting a free PlayStation 4 in a game. Why not us?
Well, our name is literally the show before the show. We are the pregame to this video game. I mean,
How
hello.
could I thought of this?
Yeah.
Okay, so just saying.
This is definitely a goal for 2017 is to get like our voice.
The show before the show, brought to
Yeah.
you by MLB The Show. Oh, that is phenomenal.
Not only that, just to get our voice in the video game.
Yeah.
Like, while you're sitting there working your way through the thing,
You can do the minor league baseball stuff.
Yeah, I really like the Royals number 7 prospect.
I'm big on this kid, Martin Gasparini, and let me tell you why. I like it.
Yeah,
like
so that's our personal goal now.
As soon as we get done with this episode, I'm firing off emails to the people at San Diego studios that make these games. But no, seriously, thanks for tuning in to another edition of The Show Before the Show. Not yet brought to you by MLB The Show. And until next week, where we have real live baseball coming up on the way, and we'll get you set to go for opening day with all of our prospect primer reflection and some predictions and stuff for the coming season. We'll also talk to you about under the radar prospects. That's been a big story for us the last couple of seasons on opening day, where everybody wants to know, who am I looking for to have a breakout year, who maybe I don't know about yet. We'll talk about that next week as well. So all kinds of good stuff coming up on the Show Before the Show's 53rd episode, which will lead you right into opening day. And until then, enjoy the final week of spring training. We'll talk to you next week.